David, how you doing?
Doing good, Michael. Thanks, man.
How much of a blow is the news on Mark Teixeira? Now, you could look at it as a positive and say, well, there is no break, but the bone bruise is significant. He's going to be on crutches. We might not see this guy for another week or two. How much of a loss is that for the Yanks?
Well, it's a huge loss. The thing about Teixeira in the middle of that lineup as a switch hitter was obviously in the MVP race, probably the MVP of the Yankees, but he was so good in the clutch. If you look at his numbers in the clutch, close and late, runners in scoring position, really across the board, he just always seemed to get good at-bats. He was the one Yankee that could really work the count, get his share of walks. He always seemed to find himself in good hitting counts, 3-1, 2-1. I think of all the Yankee hitters, he was the best at doing that. And then when you get yourself in those positions, you tend to get good pitches to hit, and in clutch situations, that's really important. Teixeira really kind of leads the way for the whole Yankee offense.
So, David, with Mark out of the lineup and A-Rod now 40, batting .256 now, I mean, what can we legitimately expect from A-Rod in the final 5 weeks of the season?
Well, there's no doubt, Don. I mean, it was probably one of the worst months of August that Alex has ever had in his career, and you just hope that he bounces back. You hope that maybe a little bit of rest and, the fact that he didn't play in Atlanta, gave him a little break on his legs. I think with Alex is even with the greatest players, Don, confidence can be kind of fleeting. I know I had that situation at the end of my career. It's real easy to lose your confidence, and you can kind of tell with the approach at the plate, with Alex swinging at a lot of first pitches during the month of August, and really just kind of guessing, looking for fastballs, and doing what we call cheating, starting your swing early, cheating, looking for a fastball and hoping you get it, as opposed to getting good at bats and seeing the ball before you commit. And I think that's what you're looking for with Alex, to get back to that old approach. Maybe a little bit of rest, a little bit of a break will help him. But really, you can tell about Alex by his approach at the plate, how deep he gets into the counts, and whether or not he's kind of looking for first pitch fastballs and starting his swing really early.
I look at the September call-ups as something that could be really advantageous for the Yankees. This is an older team, and it seemed like Joe Girardi has to squeeze every last ounce out of this team. I think pinch runners, extra pitchers in the bullpen, I think it's going to benefit the Yankees as much as any other team. Do you agree or disagree?
I do agree, Michael. I think, we've watched this team all year, and we know that, we've seen some guys get tired, without a doubt. There's obviously less extra players on the benches nowadays. Most organizations have an extra reliever in the bullpen. Pitching is kind of the sore spot with Tommy John injuries prevalent around the league, and the benches have suffered. The guys that are on the bench are few and far between, and if you don't have a utility guy that can play almost everywhere on the field, then you're almost at a disadvantage today in terms of bench depth. But the Yankees need help in all areas. They need help base running. We've seen a lot of guys, and we saw it last night, kind of a station-to-station offense. If they're not hitting 2- and 3-run home runs, they're not going first to third a lot. They're not scoring from second on hard-hit singles to the outfield. Base running and, productive outs have been a problem for the Yankees this year, so they really need a good base runner, a guy who can pinch run in key situations, and a guy who can play defense. There's no doubt that Carlos Beltran's going to need to get spelled late in games if you have a lead. So you need defensive replacement, you need base runners, and you also need some good pinch hitters off the bench.
What bothers me, David, about the call-ups in September is this is supposed to be a war of attrition, right? This is supposed to separate baseball from the other sports. 162 games, only the strong survive, and now we get to the last meaningful 30 games of the season, and now rosters expand. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that now salvation comes when we're just trying to test the abilities of a roster.
Yeah, it's a great point, Don. Michael and I have talked about it. I think Flash brought it up last night in our telecast, and I think there's a growing sentiment to change the rule, without a doubt. It used to be that the September call-ups were a gift for a reward for a good minor league season, and most of the September call-ups really didn't see a lot of action. It was more just for the experience and to learn how to be in the big leagues, learn how to act and get some experience. Nowadays it's different, without a doubt. And Michael, you brought up on several occasions about Buck Showalter's idea of sort of the just designate 25 guys for each game or each series and go ahead and have your September call-ups, but you've got to commit on each individual game who's going to be eligible and who's not. And I think that's a sentiment that's going to to gain momentum as we move forward. A lot of people are talking about this issue now, and I think people are going to keep talking about it. And I think we will see some changes. I know with Rob Manfred, the new commissioner, he's very open to changes like that. This is a good idea. I think most people agree that it's a good idea. It's a matter of getting all the general managers and all the owners in the same room at the same time and committing to making a change to this particular rule.
We're talking with David Cohn of the Yes Network here on the Mike O'Kay Show. We'll do the game tonight with John Flaherty on Yes. Our coverage starts at 6 on Yes. David, our guy James Smythe, who does such a great job with stats back in New York, he just tweeted this out. You mentioned that the Yankees are a really station-to-station sort of team. The Yankees are 29th in the big leagues in scoring from second base. The Red Sox are last. So the average is 57% scoring from second base on a single. The Yankees average about 51%. There's really no change to that. This is not a fast team other than the two guys up top.
This is very true, and then base running is a big part of the game nowadays, and there's more and more credit with some of the sabermetrics out there to sort of, quantify who are the best base runners, who goes first to third more often, who scores from first on a double, who scores from second base on singles. And there's no doubt that the Yankees thought they were going to be fairly balanced because of Ellsbury and Gardner, but the fact that they hit so many home runs and that Teixeira and Alex were so good for so long for the better part of this year that they kind of stopped running. So the running game kind of became non-existent, especially with regard to stolen bases. But there's no doubt their roster has some age on it. And, the Carlos Beltrons of the world are not going to go first to third very often. They're not going to score from second base on base hits, especially here at Fenway Park. So, the forte of the Yankees has been, the amount of 2- and 3-run home runs they've hit, not solo shots. With men on base, they hit home runs, and, you kind of get caught in between. Do we take chances stealing bases? Do we take chances taking the extra base with Alex Rodriguez on deck or Mark Teixeira on deck earlier in the season? I think they kind of got caught in the middle, and their base running overall has really suffered.
Michael's a little concerned about it. I'm not. Where do you stand on this team falling out of the playoffs altogether? Do you think that Texas, Minnesota, Tampa, Cleveland, Anaheim, any of those teams could be good enough in the last 30 games to knock the Yankees completely out of the playoffs?
Well, I certainly have my eye on Texas right now, and I don't look at it as so much as knocking them out of the playoffs, but I really do feel like, and most people don't want to talk about this because obviously winning the division is paramount and priority number one, but at the same time, home field advantage is very important in that playoff game, and I look at that, and I look at Texas right now. They're hot, they're playing well. They've got a couple of guys back from injuries that have really been productive for them. Holland on the mound, the lefty, threw a shutout the other night. So, definitely Texas has my attention. The last thing the Yankees want to do is have to go on the road, down in Texas or somewhere else to play that one-game winner takes all kind of a playoff game. So if the Blue Jays are a juggernaut like everybody, thinks they are and they continue on, there's nothing you can do about that. But protecting home field advantage in that wild card game, I think, is extremely important for the Yankees.
Now, one thing, David, let me correct my partner. Okay, I'm not worried about it. He's saying it can't happen, and I said they blew a 7-game lead against the Blue Jays in 2 weeks. So to say it can't happen, I think is ridiculous. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I wouldn't bet my last dollar on it.
Well, no, I understand the sentiment, and it's hard to get honest answers, from the players themselves because they're not going to talk about this issue. If I was a player in that clubhouse, the last thing I'd want to talk about would be the wild card.
Right.
Our focus is on the division. Our focus is on the Blue Jays. Brian Cashman, really top to bottom, the organization is going to sort of toe that party line of no, we're on the Blue Jays. We control our own destiny. And while that's all true, at the same time, reality on the ground means that you look in the rearview mirror and you see Texas coming. And you also know that Toronto is very hot. They may continue to stay hot. They've got some tremendous momentum going. So plan B is home field advantage in the wild card game, the way I look at it. And, of course, I'm not in that clubhouse. I'm an analyst now, so it's okay for me to talk about it. But I guarantee you there's some guys in that clubhouse that are looking in the rearview mirror a little bit and see Texas coming and see how well they're playing and how tough it is to play down there in Texas. And, that home, I keep saying it, that home field advantage in that wild card round could be a make-or-break thing for the Yankees.